From the Fantasy Formula One podcast, we are going to discuss the Formula One tire compounds and what we can look for on race day and race weekend to help our fantasy game. So all these tires are made by Pirelli, and unlike our tires that we use in our vehicles that we can drive in wet and dry, the Pirelli tires are either made for the wet or for the dry distinctively. For the dry tires, or the slick tires as they call them, Pirelli produces 5 dry tire compounds, and they're C1 through C5. And this range is from the hardest to the softest. So a C1 is your hard compound tire, and a C5 is your softest compound tire, and the range in between there is the range in between there. And for each race weekend, 3 of these compounds are selected and assigned as the soft red tire, medium yellow tire, and hard white tire. And this decision is made on aerodynamics of the track, how coarse the track surface is, and things like that. A fun little bit of knowledge about this is that it is possible for the softest compound on one race to be the hardest compound on another race. So if you're going to race at track number 1 and the track is very abrasive, they might have C1, C2, C3 be the 3 compounds. So C1 being the quote-unquote hard compound tire, and C3 being the quote-unquote soft compound tire. But then the very next race, if the track is not very abrasive and they decide, they could have C3 be the quote-unquote hard compound tire, and then C5 be the soft compound tire. And each one of these tires, I'll get all that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so that's a cool, fun thing, is that it varies week to week as to which is the hard, which is the medium, which is the soft. Each of these compounds, I'm back to my notes now, each of the compounds has a unique characteristic in terms of grip, durability, and operating temperature. The C1 is the hardest and is the most durable, but offers the least grip. It's best suited for high degradation circuits and with longer, faster corners like Silverstone, and it takes longer to warm up, but it resists overheating the most. C2 is a step softer than C1, but still very durable. It balances longevity and grip for circuits with more of a moderate wear. It often is used as a hard compound in races where C1 is just a little too extreme. C3 is the most versatile compound and is frequently chosen as a medium tire if you're taking averages. It provides a good mix of durability and performance, and it works well across a variety of circuits. But also, like I said, since the C3 is in the middle, it will be always in the range on every race. Like I said earlier, if it's a really abrasive, then it'll be the softest tire. If it's a really non-abrasive track, it'll be the hardest tire. And if it's in the middle, then it'll be somewhere in the middle. C4 is a step softer than C3, and this is offering much more grip but has a higher degradation, and it's suited for tracks where tire wear and cooler temperatures. So then finally we get to C5, which is the grippiest but least durable. It provides the maximum performance over short distances, perfect for things like qualifying, but as soon as you go put more than too many laps on it, it will start to, especially at those high speeds and those high temperatures, it'll start to deteriorate rapidly. The second category is the wet tires. So there's 2 types. There's intermediate tires and there's green. So there's C1 through C5, then intermediate, which are green, and then wet, which are blue. So you'll see a green I or a blue W instead of the soft, medium, hard on your timing chart. And the intermediates are designed for light rain or drying tracks. It has shallow grooves to clear the waterway while still maintaining slick in the middle of the tire. So when you see them driving, you'll see tread on the outboard, and on the inboard of the tire will be more slick. And it works in a much wider temperature range than the wet tire, so it makes it pretty flexible. But the important thing with both of these wet tires is they need water to cool them. They operate at a lower temperature range. So it's for a drying track, not a dry track. If you have a dry track and you try and push an intermediate tire, just the same as you would one of the other compounds, you'll overheat, you'll melt your tire, and you'll shred it. And then we get to the full wet tire, the blue tire, and this is designed to use in heavy rain and standing water. It features deep grooves that evacuate the water and prevent aquaplaning, but it's got less grip than the intermediates, and but it's essential in maximum wet conditions. And so, from a non-research, from a practical standpoint, yes, your intermediates, if there's like puddles on the track, if the track's wet but it's drying, as soon as you look out the track, you're like, man, I really need some rubber boots. Well, then you should probably have a wet tire. If it's rain still coming down and it's going to continue raining and the water's not going to get evacuated, then you can look for them to have a wet tire. Because, man, as soon as that sun comes out, if you have a couple more laps on a wet tire and the track is no kidding dry, you watch it, it'll happen at some point that the tires just degrade and they lose their time. They get all slippery. The car starts sliding everywhere. It is absolutely insane. So to get in the head of the strategist a little bit, they always have to balance the grip versus durability. Softer tires provide more grip, but they degrade faster, while the harder tires last longer, but you can't get to your peak performance. The operating temperatures. The harder the compounds need more heat to work effectively, while the softer compounds warm up quickly to get into their range, but they degrade faster. For track characteristics, high-speed tracks often require the harder compounds, while the street circuits like Monaco will tend to favor the softer compounds because it's a road and it's winding and they don't build up that much speed. And then the pit stop strategy. The teams aim to minimize pit stops while maintaining performance. So if the pit stops didn't count and you could just magically change your tires, well, then everybody would always have the softest compound on because they could just magically change your tires and always have the soft compound. But with how much time you lose in a pit stop, usually around 20 seconds, you want to minimize those. And so you have to balance degradation with heat. Well, that is the quick explanation of the tires used in Formula One. Be sure to check out all of our other content and get caught up on all things fantasy Formula One before the teams lock. Cheers.